Okay, so next we're going to take a look. We're going back to materials now, and we're going to take a look at 2D and 3D shaders. And the shaders that you can find, they come right out of the box. There's two types. The 2D ones are attached to materials, and then the 3D shaders are actually right here. So there's a bunch of them. Banji, Banzi, Sheen, Danao, Fog, Mabel, Nukai, and Terrain. So if you go to create under the material section and I create one of these, it automatically creates it. And you can see here, this one kind of looks like it's transparent and it has a bunch of different properties, some specular properties, reflections, illumination, esoterica. So it has all these different properties. I'm not going to look at these properties in detail right now. I just want to get through all these 3D shaders for this first video to show you what they look like and how they behave. So then there's this one that looks kind of like a wood material. You'll see how this looks when we start applying it. And then this one kind of looks like this plastic material with this kind of like grain that's in it. Um, Danelle looks kind of metallic. We have fog, which actually is pretty cool. I don't know, like, I don't think you would apply that to a solid object. Probably apply it to an open object. Mabel is, well, it looks like marble. And we also have Nukai, which looks very similar to Denel. It looks a little bit more plastic though. This looks a little bit more metal. And then we have Terrain as the last one. And it's an interesting, it looks like it's meant for, under here, we have a landscaped object, and it looks like it's meant for that particular object, but I could be wrong. So now in my setup, in my scene, I'm just going to add some ellipses or spheres, and I'll add a few of these for all these different materials. I'm just holding down the command key, and I'm pulling on this to make copies, and then we can start applying. So this first one I'll do the Banji, this one will do the Banzai, this one will be the Sheen, this one will be Danelle, we'll do Fog, and the Marble, and maybe I'll just copy another one back here and do the Nukai on this one. Now you notice that these objects get tags. So each object, these are object tags. So to modify the material as it's applied, you can click on a tag and the tag will show you all these different options for that particular tag. So there's some basic options like projection and sides right now, and then that will change the way that the material is being mapped to the object. Now, before I go ahead and try to render this so you can see what it looks like, let me just make some modifications here. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to add a floor to the scene. I'm also going to add an area light, and I'm going to pull that light up here, up above the objects. With any of these lights, you can also rotate them, so I'm going to use the rotate to point down towards the objects. And I'm going to select the light here, and I'm going to increase the intensity of the light to about 120%, give it a little bit more intensity. I'm going to slide that over a bit so it's more towards the middle here. And then the other thing I want to do is change the render settings so you can get some better quality. So in the render settings, whenever you're doing light setups, it's really good to go to anti-alias, set the anti-aliasing to best if you want the best quality. Normally this is set to geometry, and you can set it to none, but I'd like to set it to best. Then the other option you want to choose is under effects, the ambient inclusion effect. You want to make sure that that's on. You can see that I have that on here. And I increase the maximum samples to 128. And with this single light, we'll see what it looks like. I'll do a render pass. And you can see and get a sense of what these shaders do to these objects. So that's really pretty cool. You'll notice that this one, has a lot of reflectance values. So there's a reflection from the fog coming in here. There's a reflection from this one, the sheen that's going on here. And this sheen material is really, really interesting. It's got some bumps in it, and it creates some depth. And then this wood texture kind of looks like an old wood, and it's wrapped around the object. And these look very plastic. This one looks a lot less than this one. And this one has a little transparency in it. The fog also has some transparency in it. So if we were to move things around, let's say that I were to pick this object up, and let's say I move it behind the fog, and then we'll pick this object up, and I'll move this behind here to see what that transparency is doing. And then we'll just do another quick render pass, see what that looks like. Yeah, so here with the fog, you can see right through the fog to the object behind it. And here, it's a little bit transparent. It's not that transparent. I was expecting to see more of this object, but it's actually more reflectant. You can actually see the object reflecting off of this. So these are the default 3D shaders. Next, we'll take a look at the 2D shaders, where to find them, and how to apply them to objects.